coming up on Wrestling Life.
Matt is like my crazy older brother. There is no way to kind of like fully explain how pivotal and important that period of my career was. I was very lost before we started working together. I had just gotten released. I had 6 months off and I knew it was like, all right, I need to figure out what my next move is. And I said to him very early on, I was like, I don't have all the money in the world, but I'll always invest money on like gear and outfits and ideas and like whatever you want to do, I will be there with you 110%. He is such a wealth of knowledge who shouldn't still be on the indies. Like he should be on WrestleMania and he will be at some point.
This is Wrestling Life with Veal, the show that celebrates wrestling's past, present, and future with real talk from real talent.
Joining me on the show today is a guest with one heck of a story. Her brand new memoir, What's the Best That Could Happen, is out now, and it's her love letter to the wonderful world of pro wrestling. Part autobiography, part survival guide for dreamers, it's a powerful story about believing in yourself and keeping moving forward, even when you land your dream opportunity and it's all taken away from you. It's one of the most honest and vulnerable memoirs I've ever read, wrestling or otherwise, yet its author is still 2 years away from turning 30. My guest has been wrestled by life, but she has body slammed failure, suplex self-doubt, and she always does things her way. She's made history in wrestling rings worldwide, yet I have no doubt that her best is still yet to come. Joining me today is, of course, the one, the only, the awesome. It is SDL herself, Steph De Lander.
Wow, that was by far the best intro I've ever had into a podcast. So that was great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm very grateful. Yeah, lovely to have you here. And as I said off air before we started recording, I mean, your book's come out. I absolutely loved it. Finished reading it today. You've just had a big launch for it. Now you're here with me on Wrestling Life. Why was now the right time to share your story on a page, Steph?
I mean, it's something that I've always thought about, right? Like, I've always joked when something crazy would happen, like, oh, that'll be a chapter in the book. That'll be a chapter in the book. And then I was like, when are we going to do this book? Like, what am I talking about? And also, I've always prided myself on, like, there's the people that say they're going to do something, and then there's, like, the 5% of people who actually do it. So once I've said something enough, if I haven't done it, I start to be like, oh, what are you doing? So I already knew, like, all right, I actually kind of want to do this in the next little while. And then once I got injured, I was like, okay, if there's ever a time to do it, it's right now. And also being in an interesting position of, like, you know, if I'm not at WWE and if I'm not at AEW and, you know, like being with TNA, being independent to a degree, like I have a lot more control over what I can do. You know, even if I wanted to write a book, at WWE, there's obviously a lot more processes. There's a lot more people that have their hands in the pie. I mean, creatively, but also financially. So I wanted to do it while I can kind of create it, invest in it, but then also get 100% of, you know, the profits from it. So that was a motivating factor. And then the other thing too is, while I was thinking about it, I was kind of like, a lot of people, like a lot of wrestlers, write their autobiographies retrospectively. Like they do it once it's all said and done, or when they're at the tail end of their career. And I was just trying to think, like, there's not that many people that do it kind of while they're in the middle of it. So that was another thing too. I was like, that would be a unique input. You know, that's like a unique perspective to be able to say, like, yeah, this is what I did 10 years ago. This is what I did 5 years ago. But also, this is what I did 6 months ago. And this is a really current story that happened in 2023 or 2024, you know? So it's cool to be able to give those like real-time updates.
And there's two things there. One that I like is obviously saying about 100% of the profits. Obviously, you've learnt from a master of generating 100% of profits, Mr. Matt Cardona. Yes. But also, I think the other reason why, you know, you've got such an ardent fan base and why people are really behind this project is, you know, you are one of us in many respects. I mean, you are the super fan turned superstar. And what I loved, one of the things I loved about the book so much was these stories of you visiting, you know, going across to the other side of the world to WrestleMania and being there for WrestleMania 30 and WrestleMania 31 and 32,
yeah,
I think it was.
30, 31 and 32, yeah.
And then going to Access and obviously meeting some guy called Zack Ryder. at Access, but being a fan, and it's great to hear that, because often I think we're in this generation now where there's a lot more of the kind of current talent roster were just really big wrestling fans who kind of can't believe they're doing this for a living and are still really excited. Like, I had Demolition on the other week, and they were talking about how Kofi Kingston came up to them and stuff, and CM Punk came up to them, because it's still Demolition. It's still a team that they loved when they were kids. And so I love that part of the book. I particularly loved the story you share about meeting Roman Reigns and how that was the first time you tasted being a heel. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm not going to spoil the whole story because it's pretty good. But basically, I wanted to meet Roman Reigns. He was my favorite wrestler at the time. And they cut off the line at Access before I could get in to meet him. And I gave someone a bunch of money to let me take their spot. Then I took their spot. But the security thought that I was jumping the line, which I wasn't. So I kind of got into it with the security. And then I ended up kind of convincing. I worked my way. I found the right people, and I was honest. Like, I didn't lie, but I did cry and I did put on a bit of a performance. And then they put me to the very front of the line, and then I got to meet Roman. And all the fans in the crowd, like in the line of people, were not happy. They were literally like booing and chanting at me. And I was just a fan. And I turned around and I was like, you guys, I don't care. So I was like, okay, maybe I am. I'm born to be a bad guy. Yeah,
it's got to be way more fun, hasn't it, to be a heel? Anyway.
Oh, so much more fun. Like, I was even talking about this yesterday with the Inspiration at TNA, or the day before, whenever it was, who knows. But they were like, God, it's so much easier being a bad guy, isn't it? It's so much more fun. And I was like, yeah, some people are naturally baby faces and some people are naturally heels, but I think most people tend to have a bit more fun when they're a bad guy.
I think I'm a natural heel. You just ask my wife and she'll probably tell you that.
Yes. I think if you ask anyone's spouse, everyone on the planet.
Spouse or kids, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
The other thing I love is you talk in the book about having this jump first, think later mentality, which I massively resonate with. I was exchanging some emails with you. I mean, I live with ADHD. Obviously, that's a big part of your journey as well. A beautiful side of ADHD and neurodiversity is that we just get shit done. That is kind of, I decide I'm launching a brand, I'm doing a brand, I'm launching a podcast, I'm launching a podcast. You just get on with it.
Yes.
How's that helped you in the world of wrestling, where you often don't have a much chance to think about a decision?
I think it's the single-handed number one reason why I've been successful so far. And I think you could say that for a lot of really incredible people. I think that's the same reason why Cardona has been successful, whether he wants to admit that he has ADHD or OCD or whatever else. He's definitely got something D going on. And I think that's what makes him so special. And I think there's a lot of, even when you look at, I don't know if you've looked into it much, but like, if you look at some successful people who have like ADHD or autism or even like bipolar and stuff like that, there are some incredibly like creative and successful people who are neurodivergent. And I think it's like, it is a superpower. I say it's my superpower. My therapist says the same thing. I think it can be very hard in a lot of ways. There's a lot, I'm sure you can agree. Like there are daily struggles where, on the weekend, I opened my bag and I found a random pair of rental car keys that I forgot to return a month ago that I'm sure I've been charged $300 for that I haven't even noticed. And that's a daily occurrence for me, is like forgetting whatever, disorganized, forgetting stuff, losing stuff. Like the list of challenges that I deal with ADHD is very big, but it is all worth it because I have this, like, I do not care about what people think. I really don't get embarrassed about anything or insecure about certain stuff. Like, the fear of failure doesn't exist. Like, when I wrote this book, I was like, I literally don't give a shit if 5 people read it and they all say they hate it. Like, I don't care if I sell 0 copies. Like, none of that is the motivating factor for me. And obviously, of course, that doesn't mean I wasn't going to promote it correctly. But I think also the reason why I know, like, hey, I know if I want to write a book, like I'm going to write a book, but also it's going to be really successful because I know myself and I know that like everything I do 110%, and I'm going to, you know, book my own book tour and I'm going to promo the shit out of it. And I'm going to make sure that like there is no option other than this working. And that's kind of been my whole career story. Like when I was 18 and I decided I was going to start wrestling, like it was never a question of like, oh, I might make it. It was like, yeah, I'm going to go to WWE.
Title Run Toys Series 1. Dangerous Danny Davis. Wrath. Juventud Guerrera. Ernest the Cat Miller. And Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. Coming to the ring soon.
And, you know, even now when I talk about it, I've made a point, and I don't think I've ever said this publicly, but like since I got released, I always made a point to say when I go back to WWE instead of if I go back to WWE, because my dream goal eventually is still to go back to WWE because I would like to wrestle in WrestleMania. I would like to hold a title. Like there are a lot of things. I would like to be in 2K. I would like to have a Mattel figure. There are quite a few things that you cannot achieve unless you're at WWE. And those are all still career goals of mine. So I made a point of saying, and I always do when I go back, because to me, it's holding myself accountable of like, well, if I'm going to walk around with such an ego that I think and I know that I'm going back, then I better like do every single thing in my power to make sure that that becomes a reality. It's like a level of accountability. But I also think there's a level of like manifestation and presenting, like if you believe you can do something, then you're much more likely to achieve it. Whereas if you don't even think that you're capable of doing something, or if you're unsure about it, then guess what? Your chances of doing it are so much lower. Like I just had a friend who's an indie wrestler, I'm not going to mention names, but like feeling like she's spinning her wheels and she doesn't know what she's doing and it's all for nothing and is she wasting time and da-da-da. And I said, okay, well, and she said something in it. She said, I don't think I'm going to get signed anywhere anytime soon. So what's the point? And I was like, okay, why do you think that? And she was like, well, it just doesn't feel like there's anything like on the horizon for me. I don't know what I'm working towards. And I'm like, that's exactly it though. Like I said, where would you like to get signed? Do you want to get signed at WWE, TNA, or AEW? Because those are three different places that require slightly different things, right? If you go to AEW, you've got to be better at certain things. If you go to WWE, you've got to be better at certain things. TNA, same thing. And it's also three different avenues of like connections, people that you need to get in contact with, like location-wise, like, okay, pick the company, put yourself there. Can you get yourself to Orlando, or can you get yourself to a TNA taping? Like you need to know where the fuck you're going in order to get there. And then she like sent me back, oh, this is where I want to go. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now we can work on like, do you have contacts there? Have you worked there before? What did they say last time? What do you need to work on? Like it's laying out that plan, you know? And I think that is a big part of it too, is like, always knowing where you want to go and what the end goal is and being specific about it. And then you can take those baby steps backwards. Like even today in therapy, I said to my therapist, I was like, you know what? Because she was like, oh, is WWE on Netflix now? And I was like, yeah, it is. And I was like, it's so cool. I just literally just realized be on Netflix is in my 5-year goals. And that's probably one of the most ambitious ones that I wrote like a couple of years ago. But like, that's an eventual, like, I don't know how. I purposely left it vague because I was like, I don't know how, I don't know what's going to take me there, but be on Netflix. And that was long before WWE on Netflix was ever a thing. But I said, I was like, wow, it's crazy. Like me being on Netflix, even with the partnership with WWE and TNA, went from a very far and away goal to like actually very possible in the next couple of years. But if I, you know what I mean? If I didn't lay that long term, I also wouldn't have that feedback of like, okay, I'm on the right track, you know?
And of course, I mean, it's great that you're kind of paying that forward as well for someone else now, because I mean your story is layered with all of these friends and mentors that have kind of helped you along the way, and obviously some lovely stories in the book, from Indy Hartwell, who's obviously a very, very close friend of yours, to Bronson Reed, to like all the Aussie crew that everyone that's descended from Aussie, from Carl Fletcher to Grayson Waller, like there's so many of you guys, Raquel Rodriguez as well. It's very clear reading your book that there's great friendships that have really helped you. One of the ones that really stood out to me was Chelsea Green, for a reason that I wasn't really expecting, because it's something we don't really think about that much as fans, which is actually the sheer logistics and challenges of working in the United States when you're not a US citizen. And the fact that when you got released from the WWE, it's like, well, am I going to be deported kind of thing, unless I can get some more work to fill my visa? And it's fascinating, because they're the kind of things that get overlooked in the world of, the finished sports entertainment product. But that's the reality, isn't it? Of if you don't have fixed employment with a US employer, you've got to find somewhere you're out of the country.
Yeah, 1,000%. And also like the money, like I've spent probably at least 25 to 30 grand on my visa in the last 4 years, just so I can live here. And I don't have a green card. I'm not a citizen. I'm still on like the base level. I'm an athlete in America visa. Yeah. And that's how much it's cost just to keep it. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's like you are truly up shit creek without a paddle when you get released as a foreigner. And you completely have to rely on other people to help you with that, because it's all word of mouth. It's all, someone knows someone who can help you with this and help you with that, and they have an immigration lawyer and whatever else. And that is this, like, the only reason why I'm still able to be in the country, and continue my dream and continue my career. And yeah, Chelsea is the person that you call if you're in a crisis about almost anything. Like, I've never seen someone be more chill, and like she just knows what needs to be done and she fucking gets it done. Like, she is a very like resourceful person, because even though Canada is not that far away, like legally it's just as hard for Canadians to come and work in Australia as it is work in America, as if you were an Australian or someone from the UK. So she's done it all. She's gone through all of it and back. She knows exactly what's happening. But yeah, she is like a true girl's girl. Like on surface level, like she's so beautiful. She's so successful. You would be like, okay, she could be such a bitch and it would be warranted, because like she's the best and that's fine. But then you get to know her and she's like literally the nicest person ever. And you're like, how do you tick every single box? Like, you can't be this successful, this pretty, this humble, like what? But yeah, I'll never be able to repay back Chelsea and Matt for everything that they've done for me, because yeah, they really come through.
And also anyone that allows their husband to have basically the entire wing of your house devoted to toys really deserves a medal for like wife of the decade, I think.
1,000%. But also anyone who lets their husband like tour the world with another girl, you know what I mean? Like, that's the other thing too, is I always knew, like, when sorry, my dogs are fighting. Guys, chill. Grinch. Oh my God. Relax. Psychos. I always knew like it was very important to make sure Chelsea was 1,000% comfortable with everything that Matt and I were doing when we were working together as a team, because, that's very important to me, is always making sure that like everyone is comfortable and everyone is happy, and I wanted to be respectful and all of that. And yeah, Chelsea couldn't have been more understanding, couldn't have been like more of a team player with everything, so supportive. So yeah, they're both awesome.
Well, I mean, Matt's obviously written the foreword for your book, and he's described you as being like his little sister.
Yes.
I mean, it'd be lovely to kind of hear from your perspective. I mean, you've talked about it in the book, but just now, like, what Matt means to you and how much he's changed your career and your life over the last few years.
Yeah. I mean, I would say Matt is like my crazy older brother. So it's the similar kind of thing, but there is no way to kind of like fully explain how pivotal and important that period of my career was, because like I was very lost before we started working together. I had just gotten released. I had 6 months off. I was just coming back to wrestling, and I knew it was like, all right, I need to figure out what my next move is. I knew I'd always be okay because, again, like I always go 110. But once he asked me to start working with him, then it was kind of like, I said to him very early on, I was like, you don't realize this yet, but like I am the best person that you could have chose for this. Like you and I, like, I know the way that he works, and I knew that I worked the same way. And I was like, I don't have all the money in the world, but I will try my best to make this as awesome as it can be. I will post about this constantly. I'll always invest money on like gear and outfits and ideas. And like, whatever you want to do, I will be there with you 110%. And that is a high standard to attain because Matt is so on a level above everyone else. Like he does not stop. And for as much as I don't stop, and I pride myself on like working very hard and always trying to like better myself, he is doing it just as much. Like on the weekend, they called him a few days prior that he was going to be a special guest referee on TNA. And he is like, he rocks up wearing full special guest referee custom gear. You know what I mean? And like most people will get a ref shirt and maybe cut the sleeves off, but he's so committed that he paid probably $1,000 to get special ref gear made, overnight shipped. Like that's the level of commitment that has made him so successful. And that's what I try to emulate for myself. And that's what now I also try to pass on to to Mance and whoever else wants to listen. But yeah, the things that I learned from him, like, you know, you'll never be able to, like, it's changed the way that I've looked at wrestling so much and this business in general that I'm not the same person or wrestler that I was beforehand. And getting to stand there and watch him do business and hear the way that he handles certain situations and listen to him plan matches and hear the reason why he does certain things, like, that is so invaluable. And like for anyone who is on a show with Matt, like I was on every show with Matt for like 18 months straight, and nowhere near enough people. Guys,
your dogs are rolling each other.
Oh my God, sorry. Guys, stop. No one near enough people asked him for advice. Like I would watch so many people just like say hi and move on. And I don't know if it's because they're intimidated by him. I don't know if it's because they're ignorant. I don't know if it's because they don't give a shit. But I mean, he is such a wealth of knowledge who shouldn't still be on the indies. Like he should be on WrestleMania, and he will be at some point. But yeah, he is so humble and willing to help people that like, if anyone asked him for advice, he would sit down for 30 minutes and give them a full breakdown of what they should be doing and what they can work on. So that's kind of what, if there's any other wrestlers listening to this, take that away is like, you know, people like Matt who are around, like pick their brain, listen to them, even like sit and listen in on them planning their matches or whatever else, because that will open your eyes and make you look at things completely differently.
I'm Mark Merrill, former WWE Intercontinental Wrestling Champion and 3-time WCW World Television Champion. I am thrilled to announce the release of my new book, Bad to Good. The inspiring story of a wrestling wild man chronicles the highs and lows of my life, both in and out of the wrestling ring. It's a powerful narrative of overcoming adversity and the importance of perseverance, no matter how tough the journey gets. Co-authored with my good friend and award-winning journalist, Ben Veal, this is a story I've long wanted to share, and I truly hope it inspires you. I hold nothing back in this book, revealing the untold truths of my extraordinary life, from my modest beginnings and my first boxing match to the struggles with addiction that almost consumed me and my evolution into the charismatic Johnny B. Bad. This book offers an insider's perspective on the world of professional wrestling and my journey as a sports entertainer. You'll read about my pivotal negotiations with Vince McMahon that led to the first ever guaranteed contract in the WWF and how that decision marked me within the locker room. I discuss the impact of my relationship with my then wife, Rena, known to fans as Sable, on my career. I also confront the darkest moments of my life, how I hit rock bottom and how that experience sparked my rebirth, leading me to become America's leading motivational school speaker, inspiring young people and transforming lives. Featuring forwards by my good friends Diamond Dallas Page and Lex Luger, along with contributions from Mick Foley, Eric Bischoff, Vince Russo, and others who shared this wild journey with me. Bad to Good is a story you don't want to miss. Head to Amazon.com or WrestlingLife.online now to pick up your copy.
Well, of course. I mean, he had 15 years in WWE before all of this, didn't he? I remember when I spoke to him a couple of years ago for my other show, and he was telling me about being signed at 21, and I said, "Well, were you ready?" And he said, "No, of course I wasn't ready. But if you get the call, what are you going to do? You're going to say yes." So he went through that real baptism of fire. And I think what I've loved about watching the journey between both of you over the last couple of years is just, as you say, the amount that you've invested in yourself, not just financially, but creatively, taking risks. I mean, I'm an even bigger mark for Ghostbusters than I am for wrestling. And when you did the GCW Homecoming show and came out in Ecto 1, I was like, holy shit, I can't believe they've actually got an Ecto 1 here for that show. I mean, it's a whole other level. And, that's like a WrestleMania level entrance at a GCW show. It's incredible. And that's because you two believe in yourself and you know where you're going to be. And I think there's real power in that, not just in wrestling, but in life. Just, as you say, manifesting success and saying, I know where I want to be in 5 years' time, but I need to make the steps to make that happen now. I mean, another person that has obviously helped you along the way, and I loved that when you were released by WWE, people were kind of saying to you, do a McIntyre. So what do? You reach out to Drew McIntyre and you get advice. He kind of gave you advice, didn't he? And you followed that as a starting point to rebuilding after the release.
Yeah, Drew sent me like so much invaluable information that now 4 years later, I still go back and read it just to get a little, 3 years, however long it's been. I still go back and read what he said just to kind of refresh and, make sure that I'm on the right journey and whatever else. And every now and again, I'll like touch base with him and, up until an opportunity with WWE 6 months ago came up and I reached out to Drew and asked his advice, so it's like he is always there as like a sounding board. And again, goes back to that, like you have to visualize what you want. And it's like, well, I want for when girls get released in the future, that the narrative is do the Steph De Lander, right? I want to do that. I want what I do right now to be so like pivotal and important, I guess, that girls can look at me and go, oh shit, it doesn't mean that it's over if I get released. And to be honest, that already has started happening with like recently released girls kind of being like, hey, what did you do? Like, I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? So that is cool. But for someone like Drew, it's like, I want to be the female Drew at some point. So how do I do that? Well, what better way than go straight to the source and ask him what he did and do my best to follow that. And that's what I've tried to do. Yeah.
And I mean, the special thing is, of course, when you were in NXT, you were, as you rightly say in the book, property of WWE, where, you start off in the iconic grey t-shirt, but you really are property, aren't you? And you are their intellectual property. You are an interpretation of what they think you should be. In the last few years, you have become Steph De Lander, and they can't really do much about that now because you've got it tattooed on your face, so they can't really hide it. So you have created the look, the presentation, the package, and I think that's a real difference between 5 years ago. You'd have never seen that in WWE, but like when Cody Rhodes returned, and it was the entire indie package and AEW package of Cody Rhodes. That was a bit of a game changer of like, oh, actually, you genuinely can bring all of what you've brought and what's made you popular in other organizations and bring them into WWE. I mean, if you turned up one night on NXT or on Raw or SmackDown, there'd be so much instant recognition for you because of the hard graft that you've put in. And, they're not daft. They're not going to miss that. And they're watching, and it's hard to miss you really with how prolific you might have been. I mean, to be on the cover of PWI, which is pretty insane. Really, it's like you have kind of achieved so much on your bucket list, and obviously what you've done now with TNA as well. I just think it's a really great journey. It's a really powerful journey of self-belief. One of the stories I loved in your book was going back to your kind of hairdressing days, and your boss in the hairdressing salon gives you her blessing in a letter form to kind of pursue your wrestling dream. I mean, that must have meant so much to you to have someone kind of see you for who you were and believe in you back then.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was awesome because I think at that point in my life, it was very obvious, like, what I wanted to do. But I needed that final nudge of like, this change needs to happen. You need to let go of this thing. You need to fully pursue, wrestling and like go balls to the wall with that. And to have, like, I was probably very miserable to be around because I was tired and I didn't give a shit anymore. And I was 18 and whatever, who cares? And most bosses would have either just fired me or made it really awful for me at work. But instead, she was the complete opposite. And she just looked at me like she did her own daughters and was just like, I know you're not happy and it's because you don't want to be here. So like, go do you, So it was like really awesome to have that moment of closure of like, yeah, it was a big pivot. And then like from that point on, it was like, that was one of those things of like, okay, if I'm going to like, it's not giving up at all, but like, if I am going to step away from this career that I just spent 4 years learning how to do, well, then I better make what I do next worth all of that, and that's the same when, okay, if I'm going to move to the other side of the world away from all of my family and miss really big events and not be around everyone, like I need to make what I do worth it. Like all of those like decisions that I've made, I think that's one of the motivating factors for me that like failure is not an option. Like my only option I have is to succeed and to achieve my dreams, because there's a lot of things that I've gone through and a lot of things that I've missed and a lot of like choices that I've made to do this, that when I do achieve a dream or I do achieve a bucket list item or whatever else, I do feel this extra sense of fulfillment of like, okay, it's all worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you've obviously, you've mentioned WrestleMania, you've mentioned Netflix, you've mentioned the Mattel figure. There are things in the future, but, in the writing of your autobiography and obviously the reception it's had so far, is there a sense also, Steph, of just like, yeah, like I've genuinely succeeded and I've genuinely achieved so much? Are you able to look back and realize how far you've come?
Yes, I am now. And I wasn't, like, there were times in my life where I wasn't able to see that. Like, for instance, when I worked at WWE, like the whole time that I lived in America, I never had a single thing wrestling in my house. Like I didn't have any wrestling stuff. I didn't have any art on the wall of like any of my achievements. I didn't have anything. And a lot of my friends who were achieving their dreams or their goals would have, here's my NXT Women's Championship replica belt. Here's my Mattel figure. Here's the poster of the pay-per-view I was on. Here's XYZ. And because I hadn't achieved any of those things, I didn't feel like anything that I had done was worthy of celebrating or displaying. I was like, well, I'm going to wait until I get, achieve whatever. Then all of a sudden I'm not with WWE anymore. And I just kind of had this like breakthrough moment that I did it when I was on the PWI. Once I got the PWI cover, I realized like, if I don't start celebrating and enjoying this shit, I'm going to be 45 and it's going to be all said and done. And I'm going to look back and go, Grinch, stop. I'm going to look back and go, I never enjoyed any of it. I didn't celebrate any of it. And I already feel like that about my time at NXT. Because I was so stressed and I was so caught up and I was so on edge, I don't think I ever stood there once and went, you know what, Shawn Michaels is my boss. And that's pretty cool. Yeah. And those are things that I now make myself enjoy. Like I have a Steph De Lander Mance Warner shrine behind me. Yes, It's a cool backdrop for an interview, but it's also constant reminders of, hey, I still have a lot of stuff I want to do, but I have done a lot of cool shit so far. Like I have a quote on my wall that is actually from Grey's Anatomy. Hold on. I have to take this dog toy. Grinch. Thank you. I I have a quote from Grey's Anatomy, and it says, make a plan, set a goal, work toward it, but every now and again, look around, drink it in, because this is it. It might all be gone tomorrow. And it's true. Like and especially once you have a neck injury, like you realize more than ever, like this can get taken away from you at any point. So now I definitely stop and smell the roses a lot, but I never did at WWE. And that's something that, you know, next time around when I do go back eventually, whenever that is, I will change that. That will not be the same way. And even now, you know, I was at the tapings on the weekend. I was in the ring with Tommy Dreamer, and I made sure to have a second of, that's Tommy Dreamer. That's one of my heroes. You know, even in the segment, like I always want to make sure that I'm taking this stuff, like I'm soaking it in, I'm enjoying it, I'm celebrating the wins, which I never did. I'm manifesting the future stuff, which like in my book, I write about it, but like I used to say, like, I just know I'm going to get fired. I'm going to get fired. I was terrified of getting fired. I was terrified of my boyfriend breaking up with me. I was terrified of all these things happening. And my therapist was like, hey, you might be manifesting this shit. Like there is power outwardly. So if you don't want these things to happen, verbalizing it all the time certainly isn't going to help you. You know what I mean? So once I learned that, I've been very cognizant of what I say.
Yeah, and I think that's a great attitude to have. And I think just to kind of close for today, but like your book, as I said at the start, is you know, it is a wrestling book. There's a lot of wrestling in there, obviously, but it is you're working through a lot of stuff. You're really kind of talking very vulnerably about relationships, about sexuality, about you know, mental health, neurodiversity stuff, living with anxiety. There's some really powerful stuff in there, and I think it's going to, I'm sure it already is, but as word gets out about the book, I think it's going to really positively touch a lot of people, and I think it will all have been worth putting that time in as well when you start to receive responses from readers about how it's changed their lives, because it is a real kind of manifesto for getting out there, owning it, and you know, doing the best you can really, and just putting your best foot forward, and also, as you say, appreciating the moments, but also still recognizing the fact that, you know, pretty crazy that you get to the photo of Triple H being your boss, or Shawn Michaels telling you how to do a match, or being in a ring with Tommy Dreamer. Like, you're always going to be a fan. I'm always going to be a fan. It doesn't matter how many kind of legendary people I get to interview on this show, I still get a pang of excitement going, wow, can't believe that person's coming on my show. You don't lose it, because that's what's special about wrestling. It's such a strange world. It's such a larger than life, crazy world. And everyone that's in it is pretty incredible, really. So yeah, you never lose it. And it's you know, I'm very excited to see where things go for you, but it's great that you're enjoying it in the here and now.
Thank you. Yes, it's been an awesome journey, but I know it's only going to get better. So it's all very exciting.
Absolutely. Well, everyone out there in podcast land, Steph's got visa bills to pay of about 30 grand. So go out and buy a book.
Thank you.
But on a serious note, buy this book because it is excellent. And I'm looking forward to kind of seeing all the reviews roll in and seeing what everyone has to say about it.
Yes, me too. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Well, look, that's it for today. Another awesome episode of Wrestling Life. Huge thanks to my guest, the awesome SDL, Steph De Lander. If you haven't picked up a copy of her new book already, what are you waiting for? Get out and do it right now. Thank you to my producer, Jeff Easton from Tall Lake Productions. Thanks to all of you for joining us. More real talk from real talent coming soon. Until then, be good to each other. Pay it forward if you can. And I'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.